We are getting set for a high-stakes meeting today. Vladimir Zelenskyy, the president of Ukraine, is going to be at the White House with President Trump and several other European leaders. It'll be happening at about 12 o'clock Central Time. We'll be monitoring it here on KCMO Talk Radio. Jared Halpern, Fox News Radio, all over the story. Jared, good morning. Thanks for joining us in Kansas City. What are the top things you're watching today ahead of this high-stakes meeting?
If we get any more details on what a path to peace might look like in Ukraine following President Trump's sit down with Vladimir Putin late last week. And, you know, at least the reports coming out of Europe suggest that Vladimir Putin is pushing for a deal that would essentially cede Ukrainian territory to Russia, including territory that has not entirely been invaded or conquered or controlled or occupied by Russia. That seems to be a no-go, certainly for Zelenskyy. And what you are seeing now is what they are calling a coalition of the willing, with these European partners joining Zelenskyy here at the White House, a group that will include Mark Rutte, the NATO Secretary General, the UK Prime Minister, the Italian Prime Minister, the German Chancellor, the French President, the Finnish President, the EU Commissioner. So this is high stakes because it seems to be critical to trying to figure out, if you're President Trump, what the contours of a peace plan will look like. I think that there are going to be some questions, too, from Europeans about the tone of President Trump, what he is seeking. If you recall, on the way to Russia, his meeting with the Russian president in Alaska, President Trump made clear that he wanted a ceasefire to come out of his talks with Putin and would be disappointed if there wasn't, and would impose what he called very severe consequences. A ceasefire did not come about from that meeting in Alaska. And President Trump still says he is holding off on some of those severe consequences. He says because he feels enough progress was made. There are going to be questions about that. Is a lot of European allies are pushing for more economic sanctions on Russia.
So I was going to go there next. The European leaders, depending on who you want to believe, they're there obviously to either, one, prevent Trump from bullying Zelenskyy into some bad deal. That's one side of the aisle's belief. The other side is saying, no, we invited these European leaders here. They're partners in this. So how do you read into this, Jared?
I think both are true. I think obviously you can't just come to the White House without an invitation, right? If you look at the statement that was put out by Ursula von der Leyen, who is the European Commission president, the sort of representative for the European Union, she indicated that following her meeting with Zelenskyy, she would accompany him at the request of Zelenskyy. I think that the Europeans do want to show that they are unified with Zelenskyy and with Ukraine. At the same time, President Trump, the United States, knows that Europe is going to have to sign off on a lot of these conditions, especially if one of the conditions is a NATO-light or Article 5-like security guarantee for Ukraine. That would involve certainly Europe committing to that, right, that they would help defend Ukraine in the event of a further invasion by Russia. And so do I think that, you know, certainly, again, you can't come to the White House without an invitation, but I do think that there was a strong desire by these European allies to be in the room, to be a part of these conversations.
What about this? Jared Halpern, Fox News Radio, is previewing today's high-stakes meeting at the White House between President Trump, President Zelenskyy, and European leaders as well. European leaders, the Wall Street Journal reported here that European leaders are hoping that the U.S. would join security guarantees for Ukraine, and that they've been encouraged in recent days by Trump's apparent openness to it. Any possible U.S. role remains unclear. So where is that part of the equation at right now?
That's going to have to be part of the conversation. The U.S. has talked about kind of the trade-off here being not NATO membership for Ukraine, but a security guarantee. What that means is that in the event of an invasion, those partners would help defend Ukraine, potentially in a much more forward-facing way than just supplying them with weapons. Would the United States be a part of that force? That certainly would be a security guarantee, I think, in the eyes of Zelenskyy. And that's going to be a part of these conversations, too, is kind of who would step up and do that and make that commitment.
What about Zelenskyy? You mentioned there that obviously Russia may want land in any kind of a deal that they have not even been able to penetrate or take control of yet. Zelenskyy said over the weekend he doesn't want to give any land to Russia, but it seems like there's got to be a give and take here, right? I mean, everyone's going to have to feel like they got screwed and got something out of this deal for any deal to happen. Is that a fair assessment in your eyes?
Well, I think it's important to remember that Zelenskyy doesn't believe he can make this decision on his own, that there is a provision in the Ukrainian constitution that would require a referendum by Ukrainians to decide whether or not to give up territory. And so he has made that abundantly clear as well. And so I think that there also could be discussions about kind of what is the definition of kind of giving up land. Is it kind of freezing lines where they currently are? And we have kind of these disputed areas. We see that in other parts of the world, right? And so I think the language here is going to matter a lot. I think how it's understood by Russia, by Ukraine, by the international community is going to matter quite a lot.
All right. So if we're sitting here late afternoon, the meeting's all wrapped up, there's probably some kind of a back and forth with the press. How would you view this meeting today as a success, Jared Halpern? What would have to come out of it for you to say and report that this has been a successful meeting and time well spent for all of these world leaders?
Well, I think Zelenskyy not getting kicked out would be a success for him, given what we saw 6 months ago. Listen, I think what President Trump wants to get out of this meeting is, again, a better understanding of what is acceptable to both sides. And the president is still pushing for a summit that would include both Zelenskyy and Putin at the table together. Is something like that announced coming out of this? That would be fascinating to see.
That would be. Hey, Jared Halpern, Fox News Radio. Thanks for the input. Great job as always, and we'll be watching today. There you go. Jared Halpern, in and out. On to the next one. He's got news to handle. Joining us on KCMO in Kansas City. Nice job by him. It is going to be a fascinating, fascinating day. There's no doubt about it.